Hello everyone, welcome back. I am the Maize Madman. Before we get started, hit the like and subscribe button and the notification bell so you're aware every time I upload a video. Today we're going to be talking about Michigan's wild weekend. Of course, we had the Black Saturday, but Michigan also got some good news coming out of their official visit weekend this past weekend, and we'll talk a little bit about what's coming up next weekend for Michigan in terms of official visits and some who may not or may take their officials this weekend. All of that, and of course, I'm upset. No disrespect, respectfully, but disrespectfully is disrespect. Don't be disrespectful. Those vile, disgusting Spartans, poor little bro them. And I'm gonna tell them why I'm mad. That vile, disgusting cesspool in Columbus, the other state, and of course, as always, I'm upset. Well, unless you're living under a rock, missed my last video somehow, or you're just unplugged, then you already know Michigan swung and missed on four-star athlete Boo Carter out of Tennessee, who committed to in-state Tennessee Saturday at the 4040 Club, the 4040 Club in Manhattan. Of course, that was a huge loss for Michigan. Not to say that Michigan put all their eggs in the basket, because that would be unfair and untrue. However, there was a sentiment that it was a 50-50 between Michigan and Tennessee, and that could be the case, and I believe that to be the case, and of course he chose Tennessee. Now, one thing I can say about this is because it was so close between the two schools, that I do think Michigan will continue to pursue him, maybe not as, outwardly as they had to this point, but certainly will keep an ear to the ground and keeping his ear as well to kind of test the waters there moving forward. That being said, let's put that one, that's a separate issue. The bigger shock, and the shock heard around the world, the commitment heard around the recruiting world, was four-star linebacker out of Olney, Maryland, Our Lady Good Counsel, Aaron Childs, committing to the University of Florida. Now, this came in the midst of a weekend where Florida went crazy. I need to say nothing else, right? They got like 4 stars, a 5-star. Florida really won the weekend this past weekend in terms of recruiting, and Aaron Childs ended up being one of those recruits. Now, whether you believe it or not, I don't know. And RJ Moten has come out and denied the allegations, but a certain Michigan insider made allegations that Moten had negatively recruited Aaron Childs while Aaron Childs was on the visit. There are other people most people actually are just saying that Florida's throwing around the bag. Whatever the case is, Aaron Childs is not in the 2024 class for Michigan, and instead he's in the 2024 class for the Gators. I'm going to leave that alone because I don't want to get riled up again. I don't want to get re-riled, if you understand what I'm saying. I did that already. That was Saturday's video. I had the woo-saw all Sunday and Monday. Yesterday, of course, was Juneteenth, and I celebrated Juneteenth and woo-saw at the same time. Of course, Sunday was Father's Day. I celebrated that as well with my kids. And happy Father's Day belatedly to all the fathers who listen to the Maize Madman, and everybody who celebrated Juneteenth. Happy Juneteenth to you as well. That being said, Michigan did have other news. And when I say other news, they had good news. And it's not all bad. So before we get into that, let me remind you, hit the like and subscribe button. We are this close. And I know you can't see me, but there's literally like no room between my forefinger, my index finger, and my thumb. That's how close we are to 3,000 subscribers. Let's go ahead and make that final push. Make sure you leave your comments in the comment section. Like the video, of course. Moving along. The Wolverines hosted a plethora of committed and non-committed players, including non-committed wide receiver Jordan Shipp from Charlotte, North Carolina, Providence Day School. He is obviously teammates with five-star quarterback Jaden Davis from Providence Day and four-star wide receiver Channing Goodwin, both of whom are Michigan commits. He was on tap. He is considered to be a Michigan lean at this point. I really thought Michigan would be able to get that commitment from Jordan Shipp this past weekend. Obviously, that didn't come to fruition. However, it doesn't mean that they won't down the line. Right now, I believe the biggest competition to Michigan is between in-state schools, North Carolina and North Carolina State. But of course, we'll keep you posted as more information becomes available. As well as Jordan Shipp, Michigan hosted offensive lineman Michael Yini out of Copper's Cove, Texas, or Copper's Cove High School in Texas. He is one of the biggest and best offensive linemen in the country. He is rated as a 4-star offensive lineman. He is currently ranked 147th nationally, the 9th ranked offensive tackle in the country, and the 28th ranked player in the state of Texas, according to On3. Now, of course, 24/7 has him ranked as the 29th ranked player in Texas and the 14th ranked offensive tackle in the country. He is 6'7", 275 pounder out of Copper's Cove in Texas. He had also picked up a few crystal balls in Michigan's favor this past weekend. So along with now Bennett Warren out of Texas, offensive tackle, and Yini, Michigan looks in great position to land several 4-star and high 4-star at that offensive linemen along the offensive line. So the trenches should be set for Michigan. We've talked about this in previous videos, but it's all these other ancillary pieces that need to be figured out, especially now that you've lost out on Aaron Childs and Boo Carter. Speaking of that, Michigan had the number 1 cornerback in the state of Ohio, Aaron Scott, on tap for this past weekend, who had himself a great weekend, which is great news for Michigan. Of course, everyone knows that Aaron Scott has been at the top of their board for a long time. And in addition to Michigan gaining a great player or a great prospect like Aaron Scott, they're also playing defense from their rival, the other state, gaining the same sort of prospecting, potentially great player. And the same goes for Bryce West as well, which we'll get into here in a second. So Aaron Scott spoke about his visit to Michigan, saying that the other players, the other recruits and commits made him feel very welcome. He spoke glowingly about defensive back coach Steve Klingscale, co-defensive coordinator, as well as strength and conditioning coach Ben Herbert, of course. So it looks like Michigan has positioned themselves very well for Aaron Scott. Of course, they're still jousting with the other state and with Oregon out west, who was his favorite school growing up. I do think that the other state is more of a threat at this point. He will have his official visit with them this upcoming weekend, where he'll be joined by 4-star corner out of Glenville High School in Cleveland, Bryce West. So the other state will have their shot at both of these guys. But speaking of Bryce West, Michigan got some great news in that he will be making a return visit to Michigan in the coming days, or whether it's this week or next week after the Ohio State visit. Either way, it's very encouraging news that he'll be making an unofficial visit on his own dime to come and speak with the coaches to get a little more clarity. That is a very, very positive sign for the Wolverines and for their efforts in trying to get Bryce West into the 2024 class. You may remember early on in the recruiting process this season, for the 2024 class anyway, Bryce West was considered a Michigan lean early, like very early. Of course, he took a few visits to the other state, and then they became the hands-on favorite and the leader in the clubhouse. He comes from a school that is traditionally a Buckeye factory with Ted Ginn Sr. there. So it is, that is what it is. However, it does look like maybe during that visit, it rekindled something in him, and hopefully Michigan can capitalize, take advantage of that, and get Bryce West back into the fold in the 2024 class. And it would really be super cool if they could get Bryce West and Aaron Scott back into the fold in 2024 and get both of those commitments. Now, speaking of losing linebacker prospect recruit Aaron Childs to the Florida Gators, Michigan hosted their own in-state 4-star linebacker Jeremiah Beasley, and there are multiple predictions for Jeremiah Beasley to join the Wolverines. There have been for a while, and it looks like, that is still the case. He will take his final official visit this upcoming weekend to Missouri and make his decision sometime in early July. So be on the lookout there. I do think Michigan is the clubhouse leader there, and I expect them to get the commitment from Jeremiah Beasley, who is teammates with next year's number 1 player and quarterback, and that is Bryce Underwood. So that would be major for Michigan to be able to land Jeremiah Beasley. And another coup out of the state of Ohio, by way of Deerfield, Florida, of course, Elias Rudolph, the edge rusher who is originally from Cincinnati in Ohio and moved to Deerfield Beach in Florida, where he played his last year in high school, was also on tap 2 weekends ago with Bryce West and others, and will be making his decision on July 3rd. He canceled his official visit for this upcoming weekend at the other state. So that's great news for Michigan. I think his 3 are Michigan, Miami, and Pittsburgh. Of course, Miami being in the fold, there are, alarms going off for exactly how much money they can offer. And no shot to Miami, because I don't know for sure about their NIL, comings and goings, but that is the rumor, the pervasive rumor, if you will, even, that is out there. But we'll see how that goes. However, everyone seems to think that this is a Michigan lock. So Elias Rudolph in the 2024 class will be major for Michigan. In this upcoming weekend, Michigan will be hosting some of their other top recruits. We'll talk about that in the next video. But until next time, stay angry, my friends. And as always, I'm upset.
Ladies and gentlemen, this might be our best season.